In 2022, a data engineering team at a logistics company migrated their order data from a legacy warehouse to a new platform. The migration ran in batches across several weekends. Week 1 completed without issue. Week 2 encountered a storage quota error mid-run. The batch paused, reported the error, was manually restarted, and appeared to complete successfully. What nobody verified was that the restart had skipped a 2-week window of records, roughly 340,000 orders. The new platform contained records from before the gap and records from after it. The legacy system had all of them. Queries run against the new platform returned correct results for most date ranges. Queries spanning the missing window returned figures significantly lower than they should have been. Nothing in the output indicated that records were absent. The issue surfaced 6 weeks later in a quarterly report showing anomalous order volumes for the affected period. The data had looked fine in every spot check run after the migration. The spot checks had landed in the consistent region. Partial consistency is what you have when consistency holds in some parts of a system and not in others. Not universally broken, not silently wrong everywhere. Correct in one region, incorrect in another. The boundary between them is determined by which records were affected, which services received an update, which partition a particular operation touched. The reason partial consistency is difficult to detect is precisely because part of the data is correct. A query that hits only the consistent region returns accurate results. A spot check that samples from the intact portion passes. An aggregate dominated by the consistent partition looks approximately right. The data appears healthy from most angles. It is only wrong from the angle that crosses the boundary, and that boundary is not always easy to see. 3 situations produce partial consistency reliably. The first is incomplete migrations and deployments. A migration that processes data in batches can fail partway through and leave the remaining records in the old state. A deployment that reaches some services and not others splits the system between old and new behavior. In both cases, part of the system has been updated and part has not. The updated portion behaves correctly. The untouched portion behaves as it always did. Neither portion reports an error, because neither portion has done anything wrong within its own scope. The second is partitioned write failures. In distributed systems, a write that spans multiple partitions, shards, or nodes may succeed on some and fail on others. The successful partitions have the updated data. The failed partitions do not. The operation may have reported partial success, or it may have reported overall success while silently skipping the failed nodes. Subsequent reads from the successful partitions return the new value. Reads from the failed partitions return the old one. The discrepancy depends entirely on which partition the reader hits. The third is schema evolution with incomplete backfill. When a schema change is applied to a table, new records conform to the new structure. Existing records remain in their original state until a backfill updates them. If the backfill fails, is interrupted, or is never run, the table contains records in 2 different states. Queries that expect the new schema return correct results for new records and incorrect or missing results for old ones. The table is consistent within each record. It is inconsistent as a whole. 3 things address this. The first is completeness verification after every migration and deployment. Do not verify that the operation completed. Verify that it reached everything it was supposed to reach. For a data migration, compare record counts between source and destination. Break them down by time window, by region, by record type. For a deployment, verify that every service instance, every node, every region received the update. The difference between a successful migration and a partially successful one is not visible in the operation's exit status. It is visible in the counts. The second is boundary crossing queries in your validation suite. After any migration, deployment, or schema change, run queries that explicitly span the boundaries most likely to separate consistent from inconsistent data. If a migration ran in weekly batches, query across each week boundary. If a deployment targeted specific regions, query across region boundaries. These are the queries most likely to surface partial inconsistency. They are also the queries least likely to appear in a standard spot check. Designing them deliberately and running them as part of every change process closes the gap that spot checks leave open. The third is reconciliation counts as a standing practice. Partial consistency frequently shows up as a discrepancy in aggregate counts between systems that should agree. The new platform should have the same number of orders as the legacy system, broken down by time window. The reporting database should have the same event counts as the operational database, broken down by region. Run these comparisons on a schedule, not only after migrations, but routinely. Routine reconciliation surfaces partial inconsistency while it is still bounded. The longer it goes undetected, the more deeply downstream systems depend on the incorrect data. The logistics team found the skipped window by comparing day-by-day record counts between the legacy system and the new platform. The gap appeared immediately in the counts. The 340,000 missing records were remigrated within a week. The quarterly report that surfaced the issue had done so because someone noticed an anomaly and asked a question. A completeness check would have found it 6 weeks earlier and 2 reports earlier. Partial consistency is deceptive because the correct portion of the data provides cover for the incorrect portion. The system does not fail, obviously. Most queries return valid results. Most spot checks pass. The problem lives in the slice the checks did not reach. It lives in the assumption that because the checked parts were correct, the unchecked parts must be too. They are not always. The only way to know is to check the parts you have not checked yet, and to design your validation to cross the boundaries your intuition would not naturally send it across.